Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Thank you so much for coming to Triad this afternoon. We're going to start our afternoon with some introductions. We do have a new face here today. And then we'll go ahead and start with our presentation. Does anybody have any questions before we start? Do you know where the exits are? If you need to use the bathroom, they are located out these doorways and in the hallway. In case of an emergency, there are exit signs here, and there as well. Again, my name is Jackie O'Hara. I am from the Manhattan Fire Protection District. If you are a Manhattan resident and you ever have any questions about smoke alarms, CO detectors, file of life, any of that information, I am your girl to talk to. Please feel free to stop in and call me at your convenience. Thank you.
One thing, those doors are sealed shut.
We have a great way of opening them.
You've noticed that? They got tie wraps on them. I don't know why. I'm trying to keep us in or out.
Depends on the crowd and how well it's received. We'll get back to you on that. Just give me one of these or one of these, and like Emperor style, and then we'll go from there.
Maybe it's me, I don't know.
Right. If so, I wouldn't tell you. So no worries. Anyway, folks, hi. My name is Officer Paul Simon. I'm with New Lenox Police Department. I am assigned to the community policing and school resource officer duties for our department. So I have 15 schools within Village of New Lenox that I'm the resource officer for. Community policing, for those of you who do know me from prior triads, and I'm also our department's active intruder / killer / shooter response instructor. So you were here for Jeff Jers and my presentation before. It looks like we might be incorporating that into a yearly thing. In the meantime, I do have prior experience as a detective with our agency. I had 5 years in investigations and 12 years as an evidence technician. So I've worked some of the cases that we'll be talking about today. And on that note, I want to introduce you to Detective Brian Duffy from the Manhattan Police Department.
Hi.
Let them know everything you do, because it's twice as long as mine.
I just got the position over at Manhattan PD as a detective over there. I'll be the elderly service officer, the community officer, the school resource officer, the detective, patrolman, and triad now. So it's been pretty busy over in Manhattan, which is good. I came from Harvey. I was a policeman over there for a while. And then, fortunately enough, I got laid off from there, which was great because I ended up then in Manhattan. So I haven't been a policeman half as long as he has, so it'll be a great experience to be learning from him today, and hopefully you can learn something from us. And we'll be talking about fraud scams and all kinds of different phishing that people will try to do to get money from you, and work on that. So if you have any questions, please let us know. I have some handouts so you guys can actually see something of an active case that I'm working on. She was nice enough to let me pass it out to see you guys. If you see any information on there, it'd be highly appreciated just to kind of keep it with us. But it's she, like I said again, she was more than kind. She wanted to pass it out so other people learn from her mistake. And
Don't mistake us. Every bit of actual information on fraud itself, we want you to tell as many people as possible, simply for the example, the one we're passing out. We don't want any personal identifiers going around as to who this happened to. But no, the information itself, we want you to tell as many people as possible, because I'm glad we have such a good turnout here. We take on average, and don't quote this number, but I'd say probably between 5 and 10 fraud calls a week. If there's a rash of them where they find something is working, a new tactic, it can double. So as a detective, as a prior detective, caseloads get very large very quickly, and they are long-running cases. So among other things, when people are affected or victimized by fraud or forgery of some kind, my first statement to them has always been, we ask your patience, and there's not always the amount of closure we wish we could have for someone. That's why we like doing these presentations, so we can educate you as much as possible with the most current information we have.
Great. Thank you, Paul. All right.
Want me to pass it out?
Yeah, I want to pass it on.
And while they're doing that, my name is Marissa Schreiber. I am with New Lenox Fire, and I am their fire and life safety educator and public information officer. So like Jackie, if you ever have any questions, please feel free to give me a call. If I don't know the answer, I will find it out for you, and we will make sure that we get that answer to you as quickly as possible. So with that, I'm going to let you, since you're passing out, go ahead and get the presentation started. So thank you, everyone, for coming today. We appreciate it.
And one more favor, if you cannot hear us or we are talking too fast, please, we want to be here for you. It does you no good if I'm going blah, 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 blah. Raise your hand, I'll go, got it. So just let us know.
Good.
So, for starters, off the bat, the most common frauds we see these days could be different kinds, whether it's by phone call, in person, by mail. Let me make something perfectly clear. If you take anything from our talk today, take this. If you have any form of question, day or night, as to whether something is legitimate or not, and especially if anyone ever uses the phrase, do not call the police, I want you to call the police. That is among other high-pressure tactics we'll explain today, but 21 years of police work, I have yet to see a fraud or forgery case of this kind, or a ruse burglary, where when they said don't call the police, there was legitimate action taken against that person. It is a fear tactic. Now, these people are very, very good at what they do. Fraud is a low pressure, low risk, high yield crime, because they could do it over computers, they could do it over the phone, or much like a pushy salesperson, no offense to any salespeople in here, but if someone is the wrong kind that we don't want to deal with, they won't take no for an answer, and they'll continue. And they do prey on, my mother was born in 1935, so I was raised by that generation. Knowing that, they know that we are polite. They know that we let them talk, and talk, and talk. They can be very convincing. One of the first fraud cases I handled as a detective in this town, within 20 minutes of my initial interview with the suspect, that suspect went to one of our pharmacies in town, tried to explain and pressure that person into thinking they were my wife, and used my last name and demanded that they fill her prescription. Phony prescription, of course, by the way. So these things happen. High pressure is usually the way they work. So if you want to start.
And on that note, we had a whole PowerPoint and some videos set up, but technology failed us today. But we won't fail you, because we're here with it. But one of the videos is, with the high pressure, it's a really great video to watch, is they will wait for the obituaries to come out, and for a husband or a wife to see if they're dead, and then they will call that person and then say, hey, it's my condolences, I'm really sorry, and they'll talk your ear off, kind of build you up while you're down. And then even try to befriend you, boyfriend or girlfriend wise, but then say, please send me some money, I can help with this, I can come over to the house. If you just send me some more money, I can send you this and we can start going for it. But they want to wait for that weak moment in your life. And they'll just keep on calling you and calling you and calling you. And they'll find different ways, tactics, to try to get you to send them anything. And then once they get any information, your identity's gone. So always be careful. If someone calls you out of nowhere and you had a family member die, or a husband or a wife, they will try to prey on that. And unfortunately, in the elderly community, it happens a lot, and they know that. So they'll just keep on picking and picking and picking until someone bites.
Yes, sir.
Well, the other thing I've heard is that if you have the obituary in the paper, sometimes people can find out that you're not home.
Right.
So you should make sure someone is
Right.
at home.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. And if you didn't hear about, as far as obituaries go, it also says when the service is going to be, empty house. Call our police departments. We will do extra patrols. We will put the house on a watch list so that we can keep an eye out. That is a relatively
There's
common
another one,
occurrence, so
too.
thank you for that.
There's another one, don't put the birth date of the person in, because they have the name and a birth date, and from that they can start to get more information.
My son was 6 months old, first time his identity was stolen.
Wow.
Secondly, since I will make no assumptions here, but I will assume myself to be about median age as far as all of us, I remember when I got my driver's license in the state of Illinois, right there, social security number was on it. There's a reason the state took it off.
Yes.
Because that was one of the most exploited ways in when all of these trends began, was social security number.
Right.
Now, I actually like this part, but even when I was still working patrol and taking reports for people, financial cases, we have to have the social security number. I actually had a couple people who were filing a fraud report with me say, I'm not really comfortable giving you my social security number. I actually kind of shrugged it off and laughed and went, okay, just so you know, this is why I'm doing this. And we do have official pamphlets that we hand out to people who have been victims of fraud, allowing us to, so you have something tangible in front of you, so you'll know that we're actually the police. I mean, you know me now, etc. But you may be uncomfortable when you fill out the report. the frauds count on this. It's high pressure tactics. It's, well, the example I use is a friend of mine who lives out of state, a couple of years younger than me. He has 2 master's degrees from U of M, Ann Arbor, in some form of engineering that I don't believe I've ever heard of. And the other one is, I think, some form of finance. My point is, early 40s, it's been taken twice within 2 days for $10,000 each. My point is these people are very, very good at what they do. And one of the reasons we don't have accurate statistics as far as frauds go is people are afraid or ashamed to report it because they feel like, oh, I've been taken, oh, I was so foolish to have. No, you're not. They are very good at refining their craft. And if something doesn't work on one person, they will change their MO and they'll try something different until they find something that works.
And about the being embarrassed, I had a talk with a lady that I'll get into this in a second, it kind of all relates. She was getting hit by fraud probably once a year, but she was so embarrassed because she used to be a business owner, master's degree, and she got scared that her kids were going to put her in a home. So she was like, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to keep quiet. It happened. I got some money in my bank, so I'm okay. But at the end of it, she goes, this is too much for me to handle. She was like, keep on getting hit. And she was just embarrassed by it. She fell for a few things. And she goes, I'm getting old. My kids call me old. Hey, grandma, this and that. I feel old. They're going to put me away. So finally, she broke down and said, you know what? Too much is too much. And she came forward with it. And then she ended up helping out a lot with some fraud investigations, scams that were going around that was brought to our attention. Because then other people started saying, yeah, that happened to me too. And they were too embarrassed and too scared to say something because they thought they were going to be, oh, they're going to think I'm going crazy in the head, or I'm too old now and I can't live on my own. And it's not your fault. Everyone from the elderly to 6-month-olds get taken. I've had my identity stolen. It's not ever your fault if it happens to you. If you fall for something, 2 to 3 million people a year fall for it. You're not alone, and you need to come forward with it because if you don't, then we will never be able to fix it or get your money back, hopefully for you, or fix the problem. And on that note, about this fine lady, when she finally came forward, she was getting almost 200 phone calls a day. While I was at her house, I asked her to unplug the phone because I couldn't understand her. So I have, like he does, a crazy ADHD. I'm always going scatterbrained. And I said, I can't focus while talking to you because your phone goes off too much. Can you please unplug it? She goes, these are all scammers calling me. So I actually had to go, and she didn't know what to do. So I had to go to the Better Business Bureau and some, I can't remember, CDC.
I'll have it before we leave.
Some information where you can put your phone number in to get off the call list. So I did that for her, and then I made a few extra phone calls around to get her phone number taken off any kind of list, anything outside the country. No phone calls allowed in. She's like, I don't know anyone outside the country. You can take that off. And I'm like, perfect. But we got it down to almost maybe 50 to 60 calls a day now. Yeah, I said, did you change your number? She goes, I've done that. They know I changed my number, and it came back. This is one prime example of the letters she was receiving from in the mail. And she goes, she's really cute. She was like, ha, not today. Here I come. She texts, I'm coming in. I'm like, all right, I'll get the PD. I got some information for you. And she came in so proud because she could finally admit they're not getting me anymore. And this is what they were sending her. You have a family member that died overseas. You are the heir to this $1 million fortune. If you just send me a little money, we can get it taken care of, and you'll get 60 or 70%. People have fallen for this before, and again, it is not your fault. You are not stupid. You are not dumb in your head. So you're thinking. It happens. You think, oh my God, I'm in some rough times. Just lost my husband, just lost my wife. I could use the money. Maybe I'll try it and see what happens. If I can get a little bit, maybe this scam, even if you know it's wrong, and you just try it because you got nothing to lose, they win. So you just got to stay forward thinking on, if you don't know anybody out there, don't give them the money. But this lady stopped getting some of the letters. And on there, we tried tracing the name, who it was from, the email address, the phone number. Of course, it came back to nobody. It was all just made-up Gmail accounts and things like that. And a lot of them are overseas, so they send the money to England. And we have no jurisdiction.
I mentioned earlier about a lack of closure in this aspect.
Yeah.
I won't say never, because we been able to track plenty of identity thieves in at least the Chicagoland area without problem. Actually, one of our detectives was able to follow a case, and this one actually made the papers, I think, just to show you it was a very broad scope. But off one identity theft case where someone came forward, there was, I don't believe there was financial loss. It was more their information being out there. People were attempting to use it. I don't know enough details to speak with authority, but I do know that it broke cases in other states. So again, we can't say it enough. Please, you help us solve these or stop someone else from being victimized by giving us the information you have. We can't figure out trends if we don't have the information. So even if you're not out money, or you say, just like the example he had here, they're not gonna get me on this one. Now we can teach you about that one specifically and add to our toolbox on how to help you. And that's why I'm saying tell as many people as you can. Secondly, the IRS will never call you for anything. And as a side note, the police departments or our unions will not solicit for money that benefits us directly. Indirectly, I have no say in that. I'm very low on the food chain here, but my point is the New Lenox Police Department, the Manhattan Police Department does not see a dime if someone calls and represents himself as part of our union. I'm not saying they're not legitimate. I don't know. I always say life is situational. So some of those calls might be legitimate from the unions themselves, but just understand that Officer Paul Simon, Detective Brian Duffy, we're not seeing a dime of that. So just kind of a heads up there too. I'm not saying they're not legitimate. Some of those calls are. The unions do solicit by phone, but it's not gonna be that. Thirdly, hi, I'm so-and-so from Social Security, from the IRS, whoever. We have a warrant for your arrest, or we have a warrant for your grandchild's arrest, and we need bail money, which take this in a second and run with
Thank
it.
you for this.
But here's the big open secret as far as police work goes. If we have a warrant for your arrest, we're not calling you. We're showing up at 4 or 5, 6 in the morning, or noon if we want to be nice about it. My point is, we don't telegraph those things. So if someone says, you know, you have to send us this. IRS is the big one, always around tax time, but it is year round. They will not contact you by phone. They want to know you've got it. So if it's not certified mail and you signed from your postal worker, chances are, and if you have a question, who do you call?
Please.
Thank you. A little bit more gusto. I want you to actually go, yes, we call you. Call the police, please.
Call me next time.
Right. He'll be too busy.
And about the phone calls with the grandparents, you guys have grandkids?
Yeah, sure,
Do you know your grandkid's voice?
sure.
They will call and say, I'm little Tommy, Grandma, I'm in jail in Colorado, can you please send me some bail money? And they'll say, give me your credit card, and give me the credit card number, and I can take that and they'll bail me out. I really appreciate it, Grandma or Grandpa. And of course, Grandma and Grandpa are Grandma and Grandpa. They'll do anything for their grandkids. They're not the parents, so they can really spend the money on them and spoil them. So their heart breaks for them, and they end up giving the people the credit card information over the phone. And in Manhattan, I've responded to, it's under 5, I say about 4 of those already, where they're calling up and they say, hey, Grandma and Grandpa, I need some money. And one of the guys, like, I can barely hear as it is. He's like, I just believed them. I was like, yeah. He goes, I'll get you out, little Timmy or Tommy, and do that. And the guy goes, I thought it was his voice. It was a male. I'm hard on hearing, so I did it. But you know, how are you? And it's hard to say that when your kid's calling you crying. They'll cry and everything on the phone. Help me! I need to get out of jail. And I know I have a daughter, and I heard a little girl crying, and I couldn't make it out. Of course, I would take the risk. Oh my God, I gotta get my kid out. But with the hard hearing, they know this. They'll speak real soft. But it was funny. The other guy in Manhattan, he was like, "Oh, is this Chris?" He was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I don't got a Chris the grandson." Click. Good for you. But he still called us, and he wanted us to come over, and he wanted to report it. He's a trip as it is. So, but it is happening here, New Lenox, Manhattan, even, you think it can't happen in these nice towns. And it happens probably more in these nice towns.
Yeah, these low risk, high yield
Yes.
crimes, we are fertile ground. So our best way of prevention is all of you and this. So, yes.
I recently got a phone call, your your Medicare number has been breached.
Yeah.
And I got it, my friend lives in Bridgeview, he got it, and one other person we knew got it. They say stuff like that, I just hang up.
Yes,
I don't
good.
even-
Perfect.
I don't even address them.
And if there's anything in the back of your mind that says, what do? You have the phone number to Medicare. Hang up on that person, go to whatever official documentation from Medicare you have, and call Medicare and say, by the way, I'm so-and-so, do you, but make sure it's a number you have proven from previous correspondence, etc. Back on the computer thing, before I forget, emails are another thing. Most times, no. There's ways to spoof fake phone numbers on caller ID. There's ways to spoof or fake email addresses as well. You know, here, type in the last 4 of your social number and I'll pull your account up. No. So if there's any question as to whether or not it's legitimate correspondence, you will call.
The police.
New
Awesome.
Lenox.
Reading louder. Yes.
If you get an email, like I recently got an email that was from a person I used to go to church with. And so I opened it and it said, hi, can you do me a favor? And I responded by saying, well, it's good to hear from you. How can I help? Next thing I knew, this person was asking me to, he was like out of the country, get a credit card that I want to give to my blah.
Yeah.
And then I knew this guy, he would not do that. And so I called friends who also know him
Good.
and said, has his email list been compromised? And they said, oh yeah, it did.
Everybody's information, and thank you, you bring up an excellent point. All of our information is already out there, just so you know. So while I'm not here to refute or endorse any third-party company that may or may not say they're offering credit protection or things like that, the number one thing I ask of my people is double check with your banks. Your banks that you bank through have some form of fraud protection and some form of fraud monitoring. Mine, I've been locked out of, and like I said, I'm not going to use names because I don't want to endorse or refute somebody, but my bank locked my card 3 times in 2 years because it was used in spot A and then spot B, which is someplace I had never been before. They were legitimate uses. So I didn't get angry, I was happy. It was inconvenient at most, but I called my bank, number on the back of my bank issued card, and said, hi, I'm here. First time I've ever been up here, so is that why I was locked out? And then they have steps to prevent it. So yes, as far as, you know, oh, hi, I'm so-and-so, long time no talk to.
But my question was, it concerned me that I had responded, and I thought, does that enable that person to get your address list then?
It lets, at minimum, it would let them know that that's a real email address, and that would bring more emails your way. Same thing with, and what we don't want to do is make you paranoid. A couple of you have heard me say this over and over, cautious but not paranoid. We're not here to scare you, we want to educate you, but the more educated you are, the less paranoid you have to be. Cautious. Same thing Jeff and I talked about when we talked about active, incidents. It's the same thing with this stuff, but you actually have more time to think if you remember to just slow down. Don't let this high pressure tactic scare you into answering them or sending money immediately. Most forms of financial transactions these days do not require wire transfers, and they will never involve gift cards. And this is where we start jumping around, so I'm going to try and rein it back in. If any entity or person ever tells you you have to go buy X amount in gift cards, and that is the end of that correspondence.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can tell you with absolute confidence, hang up, delete don't answer. No legitimate entity is going to ask you for gift cards as payment. So, but again, when they put high pressure tactics on, we get worried. We have a couple, so I'm sorry, we're bouncing around. She was next.
I got the same call that lady got.
Okay.
And it's from a man that he would never ask. And then luckily I had his phone number, and I called him, and his first word was, I've been scammed. He says, they have. So do I delete, so he should get a new email address then, or just? It was what he
It's-
started.
That's hard to go. I would say no because you always can. You can make a new email up right now. I can do it for you. But your email and your name isn't compromised yet. If you would have said, yes, they're looking for that, yes, I can help. And that can lead them into other things. And we answer the phone, hi, is this Brian Duffy? I would say, who is this? It kind of sounds like a-hole, but I don't go, well, yes, it is. Because then they can take that voice and say, I have approval from this guy. He said, yes, it is. I go, who's this? I don't mean to sound rude or anything, but I'm not going to answer it like, yes, this is Brian Duffy. I say, who is this?
And they do rely on,
Yes.
on us having good manners.
And with the same thing with the email.
Be impolite, I give you
We haven't been
permission.
compromised. Your email may be getting passed around to a few people, but it's not, they haven't gotten to you yet. If you would have helped them out, like with the gift cards and said, yeah, I'll definitely send you some gift cards, give me your address. And like we have a Burcott's in Manhattan, and they sell Apple iTunes card there. And we had a case where someone actually put on $499, 500 is a new crime. So they went right below that, and this lady sent upwards of over $3,000 in Apple iTunes cards to this person because they were requesting help. But he said you can only cash them if they're on these cards, and she just was being nice and thought she was helping somebody. And then the money kept on going up, different gift card, a MasterCard gift card. Again, no one will ever call and say, hey, I need some money.
No responsible entity will.
Yeah.
We have hands here and we'll work our way this way.
The same thing what you said, when you get the phone call, they'll say, can I hear you? When
Right, you
say,
say yes.
Yep.
I got that. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? You say,
Yeah, and when you say yes,
I'm
whatever
giving
it
you
is,
permission to be
you already
rude.
found, yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because the
Be
voice-
rude. Who am I talking
Yeah.
to?
Yeah.
Because if it's a friend of yours, a legitimate person, they're going to understand.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it's
So
a
I hung
business
up.
that you are involved with, it's a legitimate call, I got news for you. They're not really going to care if you're rude at first. They want your money. People, I'm talking about businesses you actually work with. If it actually is a legitimate call, which most places do not do correspondence by phone when it comes to money. Call your bank and find out a number you already proven, or the next time you're there, ask them. Educate yourself by saying, will you ever call me for anything? They'll tell you. And you can always have that legitimate number on the back of whatever bank card or authentic correspondence proven from your bank or institution on who to call. Social Security is the exact same thing. Call them back. Police stations, I don't see it as much, but it's still used occasionally, going back to the, help me grandma or grandpa thing. But here's the great thing about that. I need that money or they're not gonna let me out. Or I represent your grandchild whose name is again, they're trying to get you to say it, especially if they call late at night. So just waking up, they instill fear. They're looking to get that easy answer from you. There's a very simple way. Police departments talk all the time. If someone says it's NYPD who has your son, daughter, grandchild, whoever, ask them, no, hang up, call us. We can call that entity with, we can call New York Police Department and say, by the way, I know you're a big department, but you have so-and-so with this name and date of birth. We have the real phone number for NYPD. We are officers, you are officers. Do you have this person in your custody? We'll find out for you very quickly. Do not trust a voice on the phone. If it's a New Lenox or Manhattan case, on the off chance there is a legitimate arrest, when we go to contact somebody, if someone's allowed, the phone calls to get bond out, if you don't believe it, call our dispatch back and they'll tell you whether or not, yes, we need to forward you to Officer Simon, Detective Duffy, whatever. Then you get us. And we know we've had this conversation before and our officers know. So we will be able to, or we'll come to the house. I mean, I know the knock on the door scares some people at night, but just letting you know that we would do our best to make sure that you have authentic information and are not being taken.
Go ahead.
We'll work our way this way.
Okay, I've gotten all of these calls that you've talked about. And you've been to my house already, and a couple of them.
You are far from alone, ma'am.
Yeah, I was, especially that one from Jamaica. I kept getting Kingston and Dan.
Kingston, all the time. I know Kingston very well.
I call block it. I
Yeah.
bought a phone with call block on it. Hasn't called in a long time. But the other day, I got one. I get them every day because I don't know who they are. They don't leave a message. Are these
And that's the key.
robocalls?
Some of them are.
I do not answer anybody I don't know, or they don't.
I don't
start
either.
talking.
Bingo.
And
And
it
that
comes
is
through a
yet
missed
another
call
great
and
way.
never leave a message, because if somebody you know, they will leave a message for you.
And they can
That's right,
spoof,
yes.
like my personal cell phone's prefix will say it's not, we'll say it's
I don't answer
192.
those either.
Any 192 call that comes in that isn't already stored in my phone, I know isn't somebody I know, because if nothing else, my friends would leave a message.
But
Are you in New
I
Orleans?
had, yes.
I would try to see if one of the officers could help you, like, help, getting set up how I helped that other lady
Oh,
out.
that Kingston hasn't called in a while.
Good.
He was calling for a year and a half.
Yeah.
A year and a half.
You think His
But there's-
Majesty would know better.
Yeah, there's a website you can put your phone number
And one
on.
time he called at 9 at night,
Yeah.
insisted he talked to me.
And they're counting on you being tired or nervous or having been woken up.
Or if you share
I
yours.
guess I'm from that generation, that I trust you, but I don't.
They rely on
I
that.
I don't.
tendency not to
And my
trust
mother
people.
taught me if it's too good to be true, then it's not good. But then when we find ourselves at that
I have a
age,
question. Do these people get my phone number? I have a landline phone, those are the ones. And there aren't that many people that have them anymore. Do they get it from the phone book, or do they robocall?
there are too many methods to list here. It could be everything from a business you did, I don't want to pick on any one industry, some form of food delivery service of some kind. They may sell a list of phone numbers or our social security numbers. Our social numbers are out there. I took my first computer crimes class when I became a detective more than a couple of years ago. And one of the first things they did was show us websites where you could buy, I think it was 5,000 or 15,000 authentic working credit card numbers with, here's the extra bonus, if you pay the extra money to these people, they'll give you the PIN numbers, the social security numbers of the card holder, et cetera, et cetera. Our information is already out there.
Yeah, you can just.
It's already there.
These criminals, it's called the dark web. You ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Well, picture an iceberg. Google is just the tip of the internet, what you can search. Below that is all the information, all different kinds of information. And criminals can go on the dark web and sign into these certain programs, and they can buy your information off. So if you're extremely rich, you may be worth $100 to them. If you're a little poor, you may be worth $5, and they'll actually buy your social security number, driver's license number, your MasterCard number, everything off it. And it's nothing personal, it's just random. The person will go on there and just say, hey, I want this information. And they'll say, the guy will say, give me $50 and I will give you this person's life. And then you can do it. So it's not, again, it's not your fault they're picking on you, it's just random.
I have another question. How do they, I got one yesterday
Mhm.
with all Zs
Was it sleeping?
on the caller ID. Wow,
That's a
8 or
joke.
10 Zs.
Yeah, caller ID can be
I knew what
faked.
that was, I wouldn't answer it.
Good.
And then I got another one that said invalid number, what is that?
If it's not, even if it is a number,
I don't answer any of them,
Okay.
but.
put it this way,
it's
caller
weird.
ID is a tool. It is not set in stone, reliable, to be believed. Let me make that perfectly clear. It's a convenience, it's a modern convenience, and since we don't understand, actually, I'm very glad you phrased it that way, because I used to be very tech savvy, now I'm kind of, not bad, he's better than I am. My point is, if you're not 100% current on these things, the criminals are always ahead of us when it comes to stuff. I'll never kid myself after a couple of years in this job. But my point is, they can fake caller ID, they can fake emails, what have you. So don't think, okay, my eyes tell me this says, my son's name, my daughter's name, what have you. And, oh, hi honey, how are you? Fine, but I could barely hear you. So you know your relatives' voices. You're good there.
And the
If you
third
don't
one,
want to be.
I got a third number. How do they get on the caller ID my phone number that they're calling?
It's the
mean,
shortest,
how do you do
the
that?
shortest convenience answer is it's already out there. I could tell you 15 methods right now.
Oh, so I could do it if I wanted to. I mean, I thought.
In theory,
how do they do
yeah.
that?
In theory, you could become that criminal, yes.
Why do they do that? Do they think that you're gonna pick that up because you're curious?
Yes.
Yes.
That's what I figured.
They do 100
So
a
I
day.
don't pick it up.
If they do 100 a day and they get 2
I
bites,
get
that's their
them
money.
every day, every week.
Yeah.
When I keep saying low risk, high yield, think about, the example I always use is an armed robbery. If someone goes into a business with a gun where they have cameras in certain places or money is being transacted or what have you, there's a strong chance that someone's gonna either hit an alarm. In a concealed carry state like ours, someone might have a weapon on them, you know, silent alarms, what have you. The police are coming, and they usually get away with, I'm pulling this number out completely, but we'll say $2,000. That's very high risk for an activity. But how much risk are they taking if they're faking caller ID, faking an email address, or even faking a phone call and speaking? And if they try it 100 times and 2 people pay, they just made 2, 5, 10 grand off a phone call.
On the low end.
It's low risk, high yield. So that's why it's so frequent now, so common. Yes.
There's a thing you can do online, it's called Spy Dialer. And with that, it's free,
Mhm.
and you can look up, it's kind of like a reverse directory. And you can look, and sometimes it'll say there's no information, sometimes it'll give you locations or names if they have one registered. The other thing I wanted to say is that when you travel, we've made it a practice of calling our bank and calling our credit card
I was gonna go there, thank you.
and let them know that we're gonna be out of town, which serves 2 purposes. One, that when you're away, they know if you're trying to use it, that it's legitimate.
Yeah. I have relatives in Hawaii, so before I go every time, I will, which is saying every time is gonna get me hit someday. But I do exactly that with my bank. And I say, by the way, yes, the next X amount of days, weeks, or whatever, purchases are going to be made from here or Amazon. Yes.
Same thing, large purchase, you're supposed to call ahead of time.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're normally 20, 50, 100, and if you're gonna spend 500, they lock you down right away, because it's not your
Which
normal.
You just reminded me, told you we'd be bouncing around a little bit here, so we'll try and stay on topic. But she mentioned large purchases. If you are looking over your bank statements and you see a very small one for 99 cents, $2.50, what have you, and then a big one, and you know you didn't make those, that first one is a test. They're looking to see if the card works, if the information is good, etc., or if the fraud is blockers up, etc. Then they go for the big one if it went through the first time. Yes.
There's another thing, years ago, our bank told us that you're better off using your card as a credit card, as opposed to the one where you have to.
Do what your bank tells you.
Because when you have to do that, there are people that use scanners to try to find it.
They do
The other
skim,
thing-
they dumpster dive, shred all your documents, tear them up as small as you can into pieces if you don't want to buy a shredder. But yeah,
We had our card taken once. We were downtown and paid for a dinner on Navy Pier. And there were a couple places that we had gone to where we used the card. We had our grandkids. A couple days later, we had some big item purchases and Citibank called us. But the thing was is that they had taken the card to go do that, and that's something.
when the server walked away, they skimmed it and then,
And we were lucky, we didn't
yes.
get scammed because our bank and our, that took care of it.
Know your bank's fraud policies and how much protection they give you and under what circumstances. That is a good bank. I'm glad you didn't say who it was. That is a good bank.
Go ahead.
Question is that living in unincorporated in Lenox, I called Will County.
We're all working on the same dispatch center now, so we've taken that one away from you in a good way. Don't worry about if you don't know which jurisdiction you live in, call who you think you're with, the non-emergency number, and they will direct you to the correct dispatcher who's handling them or what have you. But it is good to know which jurisdiction you live in, so if you call Manhattan's not an emergency number, New Lenox is not an emergency number, Will County's not an emergency number, you can say, hi, I'm so-and-so from this address. By the way, am I in your jurisdiction? And I need to speak with an officer because, and they'll tell you.
Yeah,
Or
just
they may
call-
say, wait till the deputy or the officer shows up and they'll tell you, but yes.
Yeah, just call dispatch and they'll let you know which jurisdiction, and they'll send an officer out to your house.
But they're all in the same room now. We consolidated.
Good.
This recently happened to me. I've been warned about, when you get these things on your computer that say, oh, you need an update and
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And I heard that, some of them, if you click on, they'll put something on your machine that
Yes.
say you owe us
Ransomware.
$300 or
Ransomware.
whatever.
Yes.
And so I got something, I think it was from Microsoft, and I was kind of afraid to update it, and then my computer got screwed up. And when friend came over to fix it, he said, oh, you haven't been updating your Microsoft. And I said, well, I didn't know if that was legitimate. So how, do you know, have any idea which are legitimate and that you should update?
That would be the
or-
longest class I've ever taught, to be honest, no. This is not the best advice in the world, but it's good advice, I'll put it that way. It's better out there, but find a tech-savvy friend, or worst case scenario, we do have, our detectives do work with computers a lot, and they'd be able to answer that question. They may take a teeny bit of time to get back to you, but if you have someone you trust, relative, neighbor, whoever, who is tech-savvy, my brother works in IT, so he is usually my first phone call if even I'm stumped over something, because I haven't been current for a little bit since I took the other position, but he works in IT, so he would know off the bat at least, that sounds legitimate, or let me check with so-and-so. Like I said, it's not an immediate answer for you, but find a trusted person who does know IT and ask. If you don't have one, call us and we'll try and find
And
something.
don't click on anything on it, you might just have to shut the computer down immediately. Just because even that little red X at the top, that may be their sensor too. So just kind of go, oh, well, I got this one, just turn it off and turn it back on, it'll be gone. If it's not gone, then call a friend over, they can do it. But I've had it on my cell phone, pop up a thing say, we're gonna share all your pictures and all this. I'm like, well, I really don't care if you do. But it said if you don't pay us this much money, and then it happened on my work phone. And I was like, all right, well, there's nothing on there. And then I just didn't do anything. I just turned it off and turned it back on and it was gone. I didn't want to press anything to do it, but it happens to police phones, happens to regular phones. Just turn it off and turn it on. I don't always know on the computer which update it is. I'll get one of the officers who's more tech savvy, like he said, hey, is this good? Should I update it? He'll say no or yes. But if you have any questions, just turn it off. Don't click on it.
Sir,
Jurisdiction issues, fire departments under that too?
they can answer as far as the fire department says, well, yes, because those lines are different than our lines. And especially if you need, 911 is 911. If you need someone there immediately, 911 everybody will get the information and the right people will be on the way. If you're looking more for filing a report or asking a question of Jackie or Marissa, that kind of thing, if you call one number, they'll eventually be able to route you to the correct one. So like I said, we want to educate you, we want to let you know, but as far as like individual ones, simply call a dispatch center here. I think the only three we have now are us, Eastcom, or four, Bolingbrook and Joliet.
Yeah.
I think those are them. Everybody else falls under one of those umbrellas.
What are your feelings about LifeLock and Norton?
Two hugely different questions. LifeLock she asked about, I neither endorse nor condemn any outside or third-party product. It's not responsible of me to do so. I do say, please check with your bank to see what their protections are.
I'm talking about the computer.
I understand. The LifeLock is credit.
Okay.
Norton, that's a different question, and I'll answer that one. There are numerous reputable firewalls, anti-spam things. Your computer should have one of them. Examples are Norton, McAfee, Trend. Yeah. So your computer absolutely should have both a firewall and some form of antivirus, anti-spam, anti-adware protection. I can neither endorse nor, but yes, your computer should have one of those, for sure.
Yeah, but your bank should also have
Well,
something set up for
Norton
you.
has hooked up with LifeLock.
Okay, then that's, like I said,
Double whammy, yeah.
if you decide to go that route, go that route.
Yeah, nothing bad for him, nothing good for him.
Yeah, no,
It can't hurt.
I just simply, I won't show the business. So.
But yeah, we can't tell you to do that or not. Lady back there has been having her hand up.
I just wondered if you have had any recent reports of people receiving letters in the mail from Google that has on Google stationery, and that asks a really odd question, because number one, I know Google tracks people anyway. Well, we stay away from that kind of stuff if possible.
Right.
However, we received a letter in the mail from the colored, G.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And it said, oh, you've been selected to represent your community as one in 30,000 people. And in order to, we would like some survey information from you. Of course, we didn't do anything, but I'm wondering if anyone else has received this.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
From Google?
Oh, yeah, I get all kinds of, oh, you've been selected.
But are they from Google specifically?
I
I got it from Google specifically,
Specifically, okay.
and others.
Whether or not it was real is yet to be proven. Point is,
I thought maybe time for man of the year, you know?
the short version is, think of it like Nielsen used to be, and probably still is.
I can't imagine Google wanted
You
to
don't
do
need
that
it.
anyway.
Your life is going to continue as is without being picked to be so-and-so, whether you're a Nielsen household or Google. No, don't need it.
And the same thing with like Publishing Clearinghouse. You've been selected, yeah, everyone knows that you've been selected. You just have to pay your taxes on it, the 5% or 3% send us the money. If you won Publishing Clearinghouse, you would have, hopefully not McMahon, I think he's gone, but not me.
Yeah, if he shows up, then
yeah,
we're on.
something's wrong.
Yeah.
But,
That's when you call 911.
Yeah.
but they would contact you through phone or something before they did that, so don't fall for the clearinghouse.
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
there any kind of resource that maybe it would just be through your village hall? If you want to have work done on your house, and, I mean, you
okay.
can Google and go and find all
Okay.
kinds of people, but
All right, this brings us in, this is good, because I'm glad you reminded me to cover this. Someone shows up, or whether it's you've seen a commercial on TV, or more likely someone shows up at your door, and I'm gonna try and keep myself on topic of soliciting, but you wanna find out if they're legitimate business or if you're gonna get ripped off by them. Online, there's Better Business Bureau, but even easier than that. Number one, if someone shows up at your door, I can't speak for the township, you guys, Manhattan and New Lenox require solicitor's permits. If you choose to answer the door to a stranger, and that is up to you, if you choose to answer that door, the first words out of your mouth have to be, I need to see your solicitor's permit. If you choose to talk to them. Because it happened to me I live in a different town, happened to me as recently as 3 weeks ago. Showed up, my family and I were in my house, and ding dong, hi, I'm from some alternative to ComEd. I'm not interested. I know, but I was raised on manners. I can't say I'm perfect with them, but I was trying to display them, and I accept them in return. So I already told them no, but, okay, you just told me a lot about you, sir. That's all I'm gonna remember. I need to see your solicitor's permit. My boss has it. I know such and such town's ordinances, you must have it on you. Oh, aren't you smart? Now he's a little bit more mouthy than you will normally get. Which, again, I don't have too many triggers, but I'm like, yes, I am. And while we're at it, you do not have a solicitor's permit, the fine is blah, 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 the ordinance number is blah, blah, blah. You don't have to go into that much detail, but I admit that's kind of the job coming home with me a little bit. But he's like, no, I don't need it. I'm like, I don't need it either. Door closed, non-emergency number, hi, village of blah, blah, blah. If you send an officer down, yes, I will sign complaints, and you don't have to, but I said, you bet. Because I will happily, because the town I live in has high fines for people who do. If they're not getting a solicitor's permit, there's one of three reasons. Number one, they're lazy. Number two, their background check would not pass. Or number three, they want the quick money in their transit. Now, if they're just lazy, I don't want anybody lazy working on my house, offering services, what have you. That's my personal opinion. I hope some of you share it. But point is, no solicitor's permit, that's it. Because when we issue solicitor's permits and they have to pay a small amount, we make sure they're not wanted, we make sure they're not a registered sex offender, allowed in the area, etc. That's why. So why would someone want to circumvent something that is very little cost when they are business people legitimately? Now, when they do have them, they are proudly wearing them. And if you ever feel the need to question whether that permit is real or not, call
the police.
All right, we're getting there.
And your town will have a list too of contractors that you could use that have been vented and.
Yes. Call your Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right. And like you said, call us. We get them all the time in Manhattan, especially when the tornado last year, some property damage.
Any disaster, you're going to get a lot of these.
If you have any kind of disasters that go on the big storms from last night, they'll start going up and down the streets. Just ignore them, ask for the permit, and move on. So.
Okay, we covered solicitors. Wrapping up.
Yeah. Is there any questions? Any more questions for us?
You know,
Oh.
What about,
I was going for who was the fastest to
Okay.
hand up. She was pretty good back there, the one.
We will come back to you, I
Yeah.
promise.
Ma'am?
It's not exactly a question, but
Yeah.
I think that the trust thing is what they count on a lot.
Absolutely.
They are cons, yes.
My mom, we were caring for my mom at a certain point, and a young man came to the door, and he was wearing a shirt, and, you know, nicely dressed and everything, said that some friends had dropped him off at a church, and it was the wrong church. Could we give him a ride to where the right church was? And I was happy I was there, and I said, you know, I could call the police and they could probably help you.
I love that answer.
And he left after a while, and I thought about it for a while, and I called the neighbor, and I asked if he had been over there, and they did not open the door to him. And I said, do you think, some of the things he said were odd to me, so I did call the police then.
Good.
And I said, you know, I don't know if this kid is doing anything wrong or whatever, but, you know, something odd. They said, what was he wearing? And I described it, and they said, they were looking for him at the time.
See something, say something.
You don't want to be mean, but.
We are never too busy. I mean, we can sometimes be very busy, but
Jackie's busy.
please call us, please, because you may be helping 5 potential victims down your block.
And just let us know, because maybe we haven't heard of it yet.
Exactly.
And be the first, show us what we need to do next for the next scam. So don't be afraid to call and say, oh, I don't know if I should do it or not. Call us, because I want to know about it, so I can stay on top of it.
And the phrase that drives me the craziest, I don't want to bother you. Please bother us.
If you ever see a policeman,
Dark at.
yeah, if they try to make a policeman, ask to see their ID. Yeah, we all have our IDs right on us.
And not just a badge, our department identification as well.
Because you can buy
You
badges.
can buy a badge at pawn shop.
Coming to your door selling something, getting you to buy something. They have this, what do you call them, the clipboards.
Yeah. Oh, they look official. They might even have a hang tag, but it won't be, you know, it'll say, I don't use comment, but I mean, might have a business logo on it, but that's not a solicitor's permit.
Go ahead, ma'am.
no, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any more questions? Oh, yep.
I think it causes a new Lennox phone number, and it's the person's name is on there, and then you're thinking that it's someone that you might have known or someone's contacted you. So I answered, and they said, well, hi, this is Joe from Visa. And Visa, you're supposed to be married from.
Exactly.
So how does that work? And a couple times I
Just
called
proof the number.
back, and I said, you know, you keep calling, and you keep calling it on my caller ID. And this one man said, it's because I don't call you. He said, but people could call me all day, but I've been doing this, so how do you, what do you do about that? Should you call people back because they have the caller ID and let them know what's happening?
Block the number.
Block the number.
Don't
And
answer the
again,
number,
you go-
block the number.
I'll find that website out, and I'll try to get it out to you guys, but you just put a number on there, and I'll block it. It'll also stop all robocalls. for you.
And those sometimes, email-wise, sometimes you'll see at the bottom of an email, unsubscribe. Unfortunately, I've started to tell people that you can't really rely on that either, and I tried this one myself on purpose. I've got a couple different email addresses. One is one I use when I'm buying something or making an online purchase. One is a complete fake email address on purpose so that I can see, okay, hit unsubscribe. 2 hours later, I have 50 emails in my spam folder. So when I clicked unsubscribe, they actually gave my email address out to many, many others. So this is how these things work. They're always a step ahead of us, but we need the information to catch up with them. That's why when it comes to email and things, just keep your antivirus software and your firewall as current as possible. If you don't know how to do that, find a tech-savvy friend. If you can't find a tech-savvy friend, you have a wonderful network in this room that involves public officials. We'll find something for you. I can't say we're going to be able to solve every problem, but we are coming close to wrapping it up since we did talk over as usual. Getting used to that with us. But we are going to stay after. So if you have individual questions, you might have to bolt. But yeah, I will stay after. I will not leave a question unanswered. So any broad questions, yours?
Can I make a suggestion for a future TRIAD meeting?
Yes?
Could it be on 5G? Could it be on 5G technology that's coming up in 2020 and everyone is so afraid of?
Okay, I got it. 4G to 5G.
Yes.
4G, 3G, okay.
5G.
You would like to know.
The Internet of Things.
Dr. Melissa.
Yes, I'm aware of what it is. I have not heard of 5G and the issues with it so far. I get 5G on my phone. But if you would like some information, I could gladly look something up for you and put something together.
No, I just thought maybe there could be a program about it, introducing
Okay.
everyone to it.
Yeah, I'll talk to Officer Simon about that and,
Because it is spooky, I think.
okay, yeah, absolutely. We'll
They
definitely.
can control, remote terrorists are going to be able to determine all of our encrypted messaging. With the oncome of 5G.
We're gonna
because
fact check
their
that one.
encryption Algorithms.
Fear tactics are pretty good at selling products.
Wall Street Journal, I don't
Okay.
think it's
Why don't you get that from your,
And
We'll look
it's
into it.
that their algorithms for 5G,
It's gonna be fine.
they
Yep,
are going to be different from the algorithms that encrypt our messages.
Okay.
yeah, we'll definitely look into it.
We'll look
for
into
you.
it.
Okay.
Yep. But again, 5G's so far, no problems with it, so. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
TRIAD works to improve the quality of life for seniors by providing an opportunity for the exchange of information between public safety, social services, and seniors. There are no membership papers to fill out or fees to pay. Everyone is welcome to attend. Each month, we present a guest speaker on subjects that keep you informed and up to date on the latest scams, frauds, and other criminal activities. We also discuss safety issues, home preparedness, and staying healthy. TRIAD meets the fourth Thursday of every month. Contact the New Lenox Police Department at 815-462-6100 for more information.